Hello and welcome to Get Your Horns Up, brought to you by Elite Sports Memorabilia. I am your host, Aaron. I am here with my good friend, Nash Talks Texas. We are missing Travis today. He's off. He took the family to the Hawaii Bowl. I'm just kidding. I have no idea where Travis is. But I'm sure he's out there. I'm sure he's locked in. I'm sure he'll pop in the chat. Surely. Nash, the kids are running the show again. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Looks like Santa Claus actually did come to town for Travis, so he's off doing his Christmas stuff. Whoever knows, wherever that is, whoever it is, but wishing Travis and his family a nice Christmas.
Hey, wherever Travis is, I'm sure he is celebrating the success that Texas had in signing day yesterday because we did not have a show yesterday. That is because this channel was filled with very high quality National Signing Day coverage. I was very impressed throughout the day of the coverage, had a lot of fun watching that. It was a good day for Texas. We're going to get into all that. We're going to talk Texas, Washington. We're going to pick these bowl games because Nash and I are in an absolute showdown that we've been picking so many games all year, and we've got a close race, so we've got to see it all the way through. If you guys have any questions in the chat, we'll get to the ones that we feel like we should answer. Super chats always go to the front of the line, but let's check out. We got people in here. Longest Horn, first in the chat. Sandman, any news on Darrington Evans? No, that's a good house divided question for sure, or Dalen Evans, yeah. But I'm sure those guys will have more information there. El Conquistador, he's fired up. Nash, is this the best recruiting class of all time? I don't have that at the top of my head. Probably not, but
Probably
it's
not.
a good one. It's definitely a good one.
It's just at this point, it's consistency, and it's like unlike Tom Herman, there's each recruit. There's a purpose for why they've been recruited. It's not just flash a recruit rating here. Let me go get it's honestly it's easy to see why Tom Herman. It was almost he was forced. His hand was forced. Right. This is a guy that, and I'm kind of going way too hard here, but Steve Sarkisian just has shown the ability to have accountability. Right. There was one answer that he had that I was like, man, you know what? He's just like he's constantly displayed the ability to accept an outcome and just kind of move on from it. If it happens, it happens, and you just kind of got to deal with it.
Sark
Tom
gets it,
Herman,
man.
you can tell like when he had a bad year, it was like, okay, let's get that recruit. Let's get some good news generated. So I get this heat off my back.
You have those friends and you have those people you meet and you come across, and some people just have feel for a situation. They know what it's supposed to look like. They know what's going on. They know how to deal with certain situations. And Herman was one of those guys. He just might not have had the best feel. Sark, man, he just has feel. He knows what's going on. Congrats to everyone that had the under 2 minutes and 40 seconds before Nash brought up Tom Herman. You can take those tickets. You can sprint to the window, collect your winnings there. We got Sark After Dark. We got Brandon Wyckoff, Hook'em 24/7, Gage Sheets, J. Bevo Horn, Danny Juarez always in here. One of our loyal listeners. Always appreciate having Danny in here in the chat. Shout out to everyone watching this morning. We're gonna have a good show. I don't think Anwar has a show today, to be determined, but probably not. We might not have a time limit today, so if you guys have questions, man, just throw them in the chat. There's no rules today. Dad is not here. There's no rules.
No rules. And hey, you know what? We are not going to be holding our likes hostage today. So if you feel free, hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate it. If not, that is your prerogative.
It's true. There's no stipulations on the likes today. Just let it fly. Come in, hit the like button early, hit it in the middle of the show, hit it at the end. Doesn't matter. Just hit the like button. It helps us out. Nash, I'm gonna go through one by one some of the big things that stood out to me from signing day. There's been a lot of content. I'm sure people watching this show have consumed a lot of content already, but we got to give our thoughts. We always have some interesting angles. Ryan Wingo, he stays put. The 5-star from St. Louis, 5-star wide receiver. Steve Sarkisian said if you could build a wide receiver in a lab, you would build Ryan Wingo. Man, he's got good size. He's a good route runner, good speed. He said he's got good long speed, which I like, which is always good to have in that Sark offense. That's how you really generate the big plays, the yards after the catch. Got to have that long speed. It sounds like a racehorse term, but I mean, when this guy gets in the open field, maybe that's what he's going to look like.
Starts galloping, yeah.
Starts galloping, man. 5-star wide receiver Nash. you can't have a high profile you're not really a high profile wide receiver or a star wide receiver in general if there's not just like a dash of chicanery around your recruitment, right? Like it's just part of the way it is. But everything worked out, right?
Look, at the end of the day, it's a deal where if you aren't a diva, there's some red flags at the wide receiver position. Like I know people like last year, people were like, "Oh, Worthy, all this stuff, the chain, all this stuff, the changing the number before the bowl game." I kind of like that. It's like I forget which wide receiver it was, but I remember I forget what game it was, but it was definitely Sark's first year, and I was just driving down. I was listening to the Craig Way pregame show, or no, it was like Rod Baber or something like that, but it was like the group of guys that had the pregame show, and they had a former wide receiver on, and he had a big game versus Oklahoma. And some of the chat might be able to, they might be able to answer this for me and remind me of who it was. But he was one of those deals where he kept saying, he's like, yeah, you're telling your quarterback you're open every single play, and if you're not, like you're pissed off, right? He was like, we lost Oklahoma, and he's sitting there going, Coach, should have passed the ball to me. I was open. So like it's one of those deals where like that's the mentality you want out of a wide receiver. No, it was Lil Jordan. I remembered it was quite a bit back from that. But yeah, and then that Lil Jordan. There, I could go on another Tom Herman tangent, but I'm not. Just gonna say, Lil Jordan. If y'all do your research, you might be able to find a clip of Lil Jordan talking about a lack of development at the University of Texas. But we're gonna.
You gotta have. I mean, if it's, I'm 100% on board. You're Ryan Wingo. We're not calling anyone a diva, but like if there's not a hint of drama or just something surrounding your star wide receiver at all given times, I'm just going to question your upside because that's what the best of the best do. I mean, that's part of the job. Danny War is putting us on the spot here, Nash. I don't know how much film you've broken down. I've seen a little. Do you have a comp yet for Ryan Wingo? I'm trying to go through my head. It's hard to compare these guys because he's got so much room to grow. So it might be a better question like a year from now, but he's just an all-around player.
You're going right down the street that I was like planning to go down and talk about Wingo. And Danny was kind of entering my head a little bit because I was thinking, man, let me try and find this tweet that I had. I'm kind of famous for the Isaiah Julio Nayer
I love
thing.
it.
Like one day in a Fanatic Perspectives chat, I just sit there and I type Julio Nayor equals Julio. Just vague, nothing else.
That's all you need.
And so what I was talking about was in that thing was and I kind of just ran with it, so that's why he's up there. But when you look at Julio's profile, right? What is Julio Jones? 6'3" wide receiver, above 215 pounds in the 215 to 230 pound range, runs a sub 4.5. And I went back and I looked and I was like, okay, well, let me see that feels like a very rare wide receiver, right? Feels like you just don't. And to what I'm saying, you'll often get two of those things, but not three. When you get all three of those things combined, it turns into a pretty rare thing. You end up winding with a Calvin Johnson, a DK Metcalf. For those that remember, AJ Green at Georgia. So the point is when you get that thing, like when you get that those measurables, you are going to get drafted. You look at Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims got drafted in the second round pretty high out of Baylor. Why? Nothing other than his profile. Because teams they're wanting to sit there and they're chasing that next Calvin Johnson. They're chasing that next. And ironically, DK Metcalf is actually such an athletic freak that he's outside the profile on the other side. Like he's like above 230 pounds, runs a sub 4. Like it's just the dude's and then he's sitting there loading up on skills every single day. Like dude's a weirdo. Okay. Dude's got DNA that nobody else does. He's an alien. Now that being said, man, to bring this into the Wingo thing, if Wingo just adds 15 pounds and can keep his speed, man, he's just right there nipping at the heels of that comp. And you got to love it if you're a Texas fan, because that's like that feels like the comp that has all the upside in the world, almost like a Roy Williams.
I think you have to do it at this point just for your personal brand. I think anytime there's like a star wide receiver coming in, you just comp them to Julio Jones. And then Nash, one day, one's going to
One day
hit
it'll work.
and you just claim it. And it's a win.
Well, see, here's the deal. I'm not gonna lie. There was like a shred of, and I still believe in Isaiah Nair, but like there was a little bit of unfortunate circumstances. And I'm not sitting here trying to act like he was actually going to become Julio, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping that was going to pan out just a little bit.
Oh, you have to. I mean, I like the AJ Green he threw out. He was just an all around really good player, which is what
It's just like
probably going to be.
that receiver doesn't come around often.
Yeah, the thing with AJ Green was he was so good at the contested catches and just mossing people consistently. We don't know, we haven't seen Wingo at this level yet, so we don't know if he's going to have that ability with the contested catches and stuff. But that could be a fun one. So, Danny, that was a good question. Thank you for throwing that in there. But yeah, there was a little bit of drama saying like, oh, he thought he might be more involved in the pre-bowl practices, and then Sark, his original plan was to let those guys be involved, and then the leadership committee on the team was like, we're playing for the national championship here. We kind of want to keep practices how they've been, a reasonable thing. So then Sark maybe went back to the recruits and was like, hey, guys, we're actually not going to include you guys too much in these practices. But it ended up all being fine. All was a bunch of nothing. Ryan Wingo slept in. He woke up, told everyone he woke up. He signed his letter of intent. He's a Longhorn. One guy that is not a Longhorn, Nash, maybe the one guy that was committed that flipped away from Texas. This was something that, the Orange Blood staff expected, so it wasn't a massive surprise for anyone out there. But Aaron Bubba Hampton, he flipped from Texas to Alabama. He is a wide receiver / corner that could have played a part into this. I believe Texas was expecting him to play exclusively defense. I think he had interest in playing both sides of the ball, so it will be interesting to see what Bama promised him and what he does early on at Bama if he does get to play some wide receiver, because maybe that played a part in this. But he's a talented player. It sucks to lose him, but I mean, it's signing day. Sometimes you're going to flip guys, and sometimes guys are going to flip the other way. It's just when you're fighting for these high-level players, this is just kind of part of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was on my stream last night, and I was sitting there. I thought that this reminded me of Jatavian Sanders, and it reminds me of an alternate world where we're telling Jatavian Sanders, hey, you come to Texas, you're not playing tight end, you're playing defensive end, because that's what we think you're better at. We have a need at defensive end, also have a need at tight end, but the need is more pressing at defensive end. And you just wonder, man, does Jatavian Sanders go elsewhere? If we're telling them, hey, you got to play defense, not offense. I mean, it's like, look, you're a baseball player. You're not, growing up until you get to your junior or senior year in high school. And then if you're not this way, guess what? You probably ended up going to college and playing college ball, but it's like you're sitting there. You're every single time you go to take ground balls, you're like, I want to go in the cages. I want to go in the cages. I want to go hit. I want to go hit. Right? Defense is boring. I want to go hit. It's just, it is what it is. Like you get more fun when the ball's in your hands.
I was on the rare side where I was begging people to not let me be a two-way player. I just wanted to be a pitcher only. I was like, just take the bat out of my hands, sell it, give it to some other kid. I just want to pitch. I never want to field another ground ball. I don't want to take a fly ball. I don't want to step in the box once kids started throwing more than 75 miles an hour. Like, I just want to pitch. Just let me pitch.
So for those that are trying to understand where Aaron's coming from, just go to YouTube, type in what is it? I'm trying to think. It's SHI something. Baseball players don't say, and look up pitchers only, and that's basically. That's Aaron right there. That is a PO mindset right there. Like I want to do nothing other than throw the ball to the catcher and don't bother me.
It's the best lifestyle there is. Anthony Smith, though, Nash, we're talking about flips. Anthony Smith, he is a linebacker, 4-star. He flipped from Texas A&M to the University of Texas. Nash, it is a beautiful thing when a young man just saves himself from going to College Station and just wakes up at the last second. Nash, this is like you're going to 4 years of federal prison, and you are walking through the door. They're scanning you. They're making sure you're not bringing in any weapons or anything you're not supposed to. Like, you are about to start eating mashed potatoes with no gravy every single day, and at the last second, you get yanked out, and they say, oh, by the way, not just are you getting yanked out, you're actually going to go to Disney World for 4 years. and you're going to Texas. I feel good for Ty Anthony Smith, man. It would be dramatic to say he saved his life, but I don't know if it is, because this is just what a beautiful thing when a guy realizes that, you know what, College Station might not be for me. I'm going to go to Austin, Texas.
Again, I mean, just to mention about Rod Babers. Rod Babers, he's a guy that he's frequently been on air saying, "Hey, look, Mac Brown saved me. Mac Brown I was going to College Station. Mac Brown saved me. He got me to change my mind and go to Texas." I feel like this is one of those things where he's gonna be saying the same thing in a few years. He's gonna be going, "Man, I really was that close to going to A&M. That is just weird, right? Like what was I thinking, right?" I agree. I'd even go venture a little bit further on your bro
Bro,
dodge.
dodge the gulag. It's so true. It's so
Hey,
true.
you know what he did for those that play Modern Warfare? He got sent to the gulag, and then his opponent, when you're in that little 1v1 in the gulag, his opponent said, "You know what? Screw it. I quit. I'm quitting Modern Warfare," and then he just immediately got deployed back into Warzone. So, you know, I will say I'm going to go a little bit one step further than what you said. This is not like where he's just got a Disney World pass. What he's got is an all expenses. Everything is all inclusive. Everything. He's got the fast pass. He's got all that stuff. Okay, and on top of that, he's also got a free pass into all the Universal Studios and everything in Orlando. It's just, you cannot mention how much of a difference it is going to A&M, where you got a bunch of dudes marching around in pretend Army uniforms, versus going to Texas, where it's Austin, right? This is a pretty cool city to be in. And also, you know what? For all the people, like I've heard some arguments about, oh, why is Alabama good? Because Alabama's out in Tuscaloosa and there's nothing to do out in Tuscaloosa except for focus on football.
Yep. No,
Well,
it's true.
focus on. You can still focus on football in Austin and have a good time.
Yep. Jay Lee mentioning he might be a 2-3 year project. He is a little undersized right now, so he's a guy that does probably need to put on a little bit of muscle. He will, they've got coaches for that. You don't always know which guys are going to hit. We did an exercise on our show the other day where we went by the recruiting class and just a lot of 4s and 5 stars, and it's just like, I don't really know who these guys are. They portaled out, and then we kept scrolling. You get to the 3-star, in every single class, it was like, oh my God, there's Jahdae Barron, there's Tavondre Sweat, like there's, just like Jalen Ford, just huge players maybe sometimes the big name guys won't work out. Sometimes the guys you have questions about, it takes a couple years and they end up being amazing. It's just kind of a wait and see, but it's all part of the fun, Jaylee. But if you want to, have questions, that's fair. That's fair for any of these guys. But that was a big one. Overall, Nash, Texas ended up number 2 in the Rivals team recruiting rankings. They passed Alabama. They are behind only Georgia. But, Steve Sarkisian, man, 3rd year, number 2 class. It was a weird year, too, because they didn't really dominate the state of Texas. There weren't a ton of, incredible prospects overall in the state of Texas, but I don't really care about that stuff anymore. I'm kind of on Onwar's side with this. Just go out, get the best players. These guys are going to go where they want to go at this point. Staying home, it'll matter to some kids here and there, but the best of the best are going to take the best opportunity. So, just thoughts on Sarkisian, number 2 class right now as far as Rivals rankings in his 3rd year. Just he's rolling.
Yeah, my thoughts are kind of what we opened with. It's the purpose and intent with everything, to have these high classes and to address needs. Like you look at the line, and it's honestly too, you can see the guy's thinking ahead, right? You would think, oh, we need a bunch of linebackers, right? We're losing Ford. We're potentially Benda, right? Hopefully, if we get Benda back, that'd be huge. But it's like, you go and you look at last year's recruiting class, we just absolutely stocked up on linebacker so much. And like Leona LaFau, right? What's he done? He's the second most snaps on special teams on the entire team. It's just Steve Sarkisian, they recognize, hey, there is a clear need for a linebacker, right? And they put it ahead of time. Last year's class was a pretty damn good class. And honestly, last year's class, if you look at it, like the guys that make up the linebacker group, they were the guy like that was those were the Gallettes, the Samaje Burrells, right? These were the guys that the Jelani McDonald's. I know he plays defensive back here, but he was a linebacker in high school. But these are the guys, right, that made up the last year's class was different than this year's class. Last year's class was very back end heavy, right? A lot of good stuff in the back end, but it wasn't as much top end loaded. You did have Arch Manning, right? But this year is just, I mean, like you got Baker, Wingo. I'm blanking on the other two 5-star names, but
Yeah, I mean, this is going to
Colin
look small on the
Simmons,
screen to some people,
Kobe
but here's the
Black,
full list. I mean,
Phil Simi. This is just like the top end talent on this class is legit.
It's exciting too. You got the two running backs too, Christian Clark. Steve Sarkisian. He threw out the Bijan comp. That was chills. That was chills when he threw out the Bijan comp. So that was good stuff. And then Jarrett Gibson just sounds like an absolute bruiser. So not worried about the running back room. He just he said what we've been saying and what he's been saying in the past. He identifies the culture guys. He identifies the guys that he and the staff like at the high school level that they can develop. And then he goes to the portal for very specific needs. And I just think that's the right formula. That's the right way to do it because you look at the roster, there's just not many holes. Like I do think you need one more wide receiver in the transfer portal. And then interior defensive line, when you're losing Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, you're always going to have questions there. You don't know exactly what it's going to look like. But man, just the roster on paper, which is all we can judge it by right now for 2024, you don't have too many questions about it. Nash, I do want to ask you about the billboards for anyone that didn't see it. I've got one. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. This was the Trey Owens billboard. Texas went out. I don't know if it was in every single city of every kid that signed. It might have been, but they got a billboard up there in the hometowns. Sark said he wanted to celebrate the communities that rallied around those kids. It's also just a giant flex for future recruiting. What was your take when you started to see these billboards come out?
I mean, I know some people had a take of, oh, well, Texas wasn't the first to do this. They're just copycats. It's like, you know what? You can say that all you want. At the end of the day, there's a lot of gimmicks in recruiting, and this is not one of them. When you see actual recruits and families going out to visit the billboards and take a picture in front of it, it's a little bit of a nod to all the hard work that they put in, and then also to the community. Like it's been mentioned a million times. But I will say Steve Sarkisian, it sounded like from what he said that this was reserved for the guys that like they had pretty much already signed. Like there was no question that they were going to be signing. And what's interesting about that one is Ryan Wingo. Ryan Wingo was one that had a board put up. Like, so this is not like a deal where if you flip last second, you're going to get this, you're going to get a board put up. Like there's a little bit of logistics that had to be made. And it honestly kind of sounds like at this point, Ryan Wingo just said the alarm didn't go off and I slept in. Sorry about it.
Oh, I mean, there's definitely logistics involved. Yes, Sam, man, this wasn't out of pocket for the recruits. This is funded by the school. This is your
No. The billboard company said we'll do it for free. It's a good cause, good meeting. Don't worry. We don't care about money.
Hey man, these Texas One Fund dollars, you don't know where they're headed, but this is a good use. If I donated to Texas One Fund, I'd be more than happy to put a Ryan Wingo billboard up in St. Louis. Man, imagine you're like a diehard Missouri fan. It's just like one of those recruiting nutheads. And like, the past 2 years, all you've cared about is Ryan Wingo. He's sleeping in. You don't know if there's a possible of a miracle. He signs with Texas. You just say, I need to go out on a drive. I need to clear my head. I need to listen to some music. I need to drive around. And you just see a giant Ryan Wingo to Texas billboard in your home state. That's just hilarious. I'm sorry, that's funny. I'll say it. That is just funny to think about.
I mean, what would be funny is if it was if you dude has a process, right? Like a routine. Okay, I'm gonna get my morning coffee going, all that stuff, get the car warmed up, right? Hop in the car, go to work. But put on the Missouri Sports Talk radio, right? Okay. Just driving down the road, sipping your coffee, okay.
Just son of a
like that ruined my day. Just out of nowhere, right? You've finally gotten over it, right? Okay, you know what? It's the next day, time to go to work, right? And then just out of nowhere, just a petty reminder for no other reason.
Well, and it's just 2023. Like everyone's getting their news. You got Twitter notifications, you got Instagram, you got sites like Orange Bloods, just everyone breaking down this from every angle. But maybe you just like your phone's on Do Not Disturb and you're just driving down the road and you're like, well, there it is, I guess. I guess Ryan Wingo's coming to Texas.
You literally cannot. It's just being shoved in your face. And yeah, SMU did a couple years ago. I think UCF was the first one to do this.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I think it's pretty cool.
I'm a big fan of this. And like people said, like you're just copying. You know what? All the things that Texas have come up with first. I think we can copy one thing.
All right, Nash. One thing about National Signing Day. Just a lot of new kids that potentially could be signing with Elite Sports Memorabilia one day. I'm sure Brandon is working. He's getting ahead of the curve, I'm sure. Check out Elite Sports Memorabilia. We've talked about it all year. There's a sponsor of the show. It's just the best gear. It's the best service. If you want signed, authentic gear that helps the players, some of this money goes to them. Brandon does a really good job. He's good at customer service. He'll get quick deliveries. Everything will be authentic. Nash, you can talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to get into our most important players in the Washington game. But yeah, man, I mean, this is a big day for ESM because, a vast majority of these guys are going to have some pretty sweet deals.
Yeah, this is one of those days where Brandon, I'm excited for Brandon for who he's going to be going after to get the ESM roster members. But at the same time, I also feel bad because it's like that commercial where it's like you got ants in your house and there's a bunch of ants walking around telling you what's wrong with your house. He's got a bunch of agents in his house now, and he's going to have to deal with the agents and those pesky little agents. So he just found out that hey, he just signed Jonte Cook. Jonte Cook, get your Elite Sports Memorabilia. He's going to get pre-orders are going to open up soon for that, I believe. So watch out for that. But he kind of had to do a little twisting and turning to get to that point where he can have Jonte Cook's jersey on the website. But hey, you know what? It's time. Add some more members. I need new jerseys.
We talked about it. Hey, scan the QR code right now. He just signed Jonte Cook. We talked about it, man. Get the Jonte Cook jersey now because when he is Quinn Ewers wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 next year, the price is going to have to go up. That's just like, I'm not a well, I guess I think I am an economics major, so I probably should say I'm a master at this, but I believe that's how that stuff works. So if Jonte Cook catches 3 touchdowns for 200 yards in week 1 next year, price is going to go up. Scan the QR code, get your jerseys now. Shout out to Brandon, Elite Sports Memorabilia, our number 1 sponsor. Catching up in the chat a little bit. Jay Lee, Travis is okay. He wanted to take the family to the Birmingham Bowl. He said he had to skip out on us. It's fine. He'll be all right. Also, Alex January, he played baseball. So that's cool. It's always good to see those multi-sport guys, another baseball guy coming into the football program. Nash, I want to talk about the Sugar Bowl. It's the time between the end of the Big 12 championship game and the Sugar Bowl. It has been going very, very, very slow, in my opinion. And I finally feel like it's starting to heat up. Like it's about to be Christmas Eve, and then it'll be Christmas, and then you'll have a couple days after Christmas, so it'll feel slow. But then we are right there. We are right on the cusp. It is time to start really diving into this game. I wanted to talk about the 5 most important players for Texas against Washington. This isn't a draft. This is just a fun way to talk about different angles of the game, in my opinion. But yeah, you have anything you need to get off your chest, anything you need to address in the chat before we dive into this exercise?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say this game, man, it's coming up fast. Like this is 1 out of 5 episodes that we have until the game starts. And this is I have a bold prediction. I do not think we're going to get through our big questions. We're on question 6 now or something like that. We've been having a hard time getting through those big questions.
Hey, that's all right. We're gonna find ways to talk about the game.
We'll find a way to get through them.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like it's recruiting and signing is a huge deal. The transfer portal is a huge deal, but it's like the whole point of all of this is to win the national. Is like put a team on the field to win the national championship, which Texas has right now. and is 2 games away and is favored in game 1. So it's pretty crazy. I'm starting off with Quinn Ewers. You have to start off with Quinn Ewers at number 1. He's the only guy on Texas that I feel like if this player plays poorly, then the team is not going to beat Washington, which is not a bold statement, but in a game that's projected to be a shootout, Quinn's got to play a solid game, and he will. There's just when I think about Quinn Ewers in this game, I don't see a path to where he doesn't play well because the matchup is really, really good. He's healthy. All the playmakers are healthy. Sark has had a ton of time to prepare. Washington's defense, especially the secondary, can be had. Worthy's good to go. Mitchell's good to go. It's hard for me to imagine a world where Quinn Ewers doesn't play a great game. And I think the only thing you'd point to is, well, it's a playoff game. So the nerves could just get to him. We've never seen any of these guys in a college football playoff game. And that maybe is true, but he's been such a big game quarterback to where, yeah, going into Tuscaloosa in week 2, it does not have the label of a college football playoff game, but we know that how much pressure was on Quinn in that game. So he's shown time and time before he will step up in big games. Same man, I see you, no turnovers, absolutely. But I don't see many reasons to be concerned about Quinn Ewers in this game. And that's not me just being from like a pro Texas perspective or someone that has always had Quinn's back. Just looking at the matchup and how he's been playing and how Sark has been calling plays and the playmakers he has, I just think he's going to give this team a very, very, very good shot to win.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn Ewers is going to be my first guy that I was going to talk about too as well. So
Yep.
kind of 2 birds in 1 stone right here.
Yep.
Quinn Ewers had 3 games under 215 yards. Wyoming, Houston, and Texas Tech. Now, to your point, the 2 games because we didn't struggle versus Texas Tech at all. I mean, anytime that you see Arch Manning coming into, play, we've probably done well for ourselves. And even Malik Murphy, or the backup quarterback. Anytime you see the backup quarterback, you've probably done well. You've either done really well or really bad. There's no in between on that one. Now, that being said, I mean, it's obvious that Wyoming and Houston, those are not 2 of our biggest games, right? But those are probably 2 of the games that we played the poorest in. Those were probably 2 of the closest games that we had all season long, outside of obviously Oklahoma. But I agree, man. The one thing that I think is going to be lost on a lot of people is coaches are competitive, right? And if Steve Sarkisian's shown us one thing, this dude is a competitive guy, right? He wants to compete, and I don't think there's any way that you remain a elite college football mind this long in college football without being competitive, because you're always competitive people. They're always wanting to gain an edge. Every last inch they can get, they're going to take it. And you're not like, if you're not the ultra competitive guy, like top 1% dudes, you might be okay with thinking, you know what, my ego's fine, right? I'm a great offensive mind. My offense is great. I don't need to change anything. That's not who Sark's been. But I just think, man, Steve Sarkisian's going to come out here and he's going to come out swinging, right? Like this is his chance to compete with Kalen Bohr.
100%, man. I mean, he's going to have Quinn in the right headspace. And if you're Quinn, I don't know how you couldn't be in the right headspace, because he's had so many good moments this year and he has led this team. He's been the leader of this team that's been one of the most successful Texas teams that me and you have possibly ever seen. And he gets so much confidence from that. And he has trust in Sark and he has trust in his playmakers on the outside, to where that's where confidence comes from. Confidence comes from previous success, and it comes from having trust in those around you. And Quinn has both of those things to fall back on right now. So I just think he's in a good spot. I'm going to be very surprised if he does not play well in this game. But I think he is the most important guy for Texas because he's the quarterback, and those are the rules, Nash. Number 2, this is where it gets interesting. I went with Ryan Watts because, look, he might not win often on the outside against some of these really talented Washington wide receivers like Rome Odunze, like Jalen Polk. Michael Penix has put up the stats he has this year for a reason. But if Watts is back fully healthy, which Sark said yesterday, everyone's trending in a very good direction. Guys were flying around at practice. Everyone was practicing. So I'm just assuming Watts is going to be basically 100% good to go. If he can just hang tough on enough plays and maybe make Michael Penix, sit back there and hold the ball a little bit, make him go through his progressions, give T'Vondre Sweat a little extra time to impact the play, get him off the platform, give Barron Sorrell or Ethan Burke a little bit of extra time. Just make Michael Penix hold the ball a little bit. That could make a difference on a couple drives. And then on top of that, just be fundamentally sound in the red zone. Just make sure you've got your communication locked in. Be physical at the line of scrimmage. Make plays on the ball, which those are Ryan Watt's strength, right? His strength is making plays on the ball. He's very comfortable, in contested situations. And if he can do that just in the red zone where he can limit a couple field goals. Look, I'm not expecting a great performance from the Texas secondary. I think Washington is going to move the ball through the air. But when I'm thinking about important players for Texas and maybe how Texas can have success and the defense can play well, and maybe this will be not a complete nail biter for Texas, I think Ryan Watt's having one of his best games, and a huge spot for him, by the way. If he goes out against this team and against these wide receivers on a game where everyone's going to be watching and he makes some plays, that's going to do a lot for his future. So he's one guy that comes to my mind because, he's been a little forgotten about here.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is due to injury. He's just kind of, and then when like you look at versus Texas Tech, it was just like that game early on, man. It was you lost one guy. Okay, crap. Okay, now another guy goes down. Crap. Third guy goes down. Okay, what? We're 5 minutes in this game. What's going on here? Right? Like there's something cursed going on. Ryan Watts, man, he had a good game last year versus this is also the defensive backs. They had a good game versus Washington, and man, if you're the defensive backs, I'm just going to go with the whole defensive back group as group them into one right here. But if you're the defensive backs, you got to be like just sitting there. Okay, all right, I'm just mental note, right? Mental note. See one thing on Twitter, another mental note. Check. Right, just store it in the back pocket and use it as motivation. Nobody is expecting this Texas defense to go out there and stop this Washington pass. Like it's all people are already baking it in. Okay, well, Texas they're gonna have a hard time dealing with the Washington passing attack, dealing with the Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, all that stuff. So all that to say, man, I mean, this Texas defensive backs that played well once versus Washington. I mean, these dudes are not superhumans; they're mere mortals. I keep going back. I mean, this is one of the funny things about Jalen McMillan is people forget like he was back versus not just Washington State but Oregon State. Like he didn't just because his numbers aren't showing up on the box score and on the stat sheets doesn't mean he's not out there on the field running around playing. And now maybe he wasn't 100% yet. That there could be something to speak for that, but at the same time, I mean, I don't think you're getting tossed out there for the same amount of snaps as you do in games that you're healthy when you're injured, especially when you have the depth that you have at Washington at the wide receiver room. But yeah, this is just his ability because no matter what, right, you're going to get one of Jalen Polk, McMillan, or Dunze. And those are all three very good wide receivers. So he's going to have a tall task ahead of him. But man, I mean, this just like wide receivers that are divas, man. This is one of your games, man, where you can actually go out there, you can thump your chest a little bit and say, "Hey, that's my film."
He's going to be fired up, man. I mean, they're going to be preaching to those guys all week. They're going to say, "Hey, everyone expects Washington to put up 30-plus points, and they expect Michael Penix to light you guys up for 350 yards." And this is where a guy like Ryan Watts, man, he can really step up and take this personally. And, he doesn't have to be perfect. He's not going to be perfect. But if he can just make a couple big plays, this Washington passing offense is like a well-oiled machine. If Ryan Watts can just be like the grain of rice that slips in and throws off a couple things, that could disrupt enough plays to where it can really make an impact. Sandman, absolutely. This is the best wide receiver core that Texas has faced this year. I don't really think it's close. I'm not missing.
No,
I'm not
it's
missing
not.
anything obvious, right, Nash?
No, I mean honestly, if you were to, I think the top three receiving cores in this, I'll go four just to add it. On a consistency basis, I'm going to ditch out FSU, but they're my first team out. But I think if you're going to look at receiving cores, it's there's a clear top three in the nation, and that's in no order: Ohio State, Washington, Texas.
Yep.
And I mean these were kind of my three going in. Man, I could see a situation where Texas could be that number one receiving core, but it's just it's one of those funny things, man. I like as much as these wide receivers are divas, dude, their ability to just say, you know what, the game plan doesn't dictate. I don't get the ball, and it is what it is. I'm still going to be a team player, right? To like for those that pay attention to the NFL, you look at like what's happened to a George Pickens right now. Having that like there's all the questions about him having his effort versus blocking. AD Mitchell's done the exact opposite of that. AD started out with questionable blocking, and then now the effort, you can see it's just clearly been there throughout the year, right? This is not a deal where, oh, woe is me, I didn't get the ball. I'm going to start complaining. I'm going to start, I'm going to go sit in the corner. I'm going to cross my arms and pout, right? That's not what happens. This group feels pretty selfless, and I feel like if they have the chance to have these numbers that could put them as the top wide receiver group in the nation.
Yep.
But they just due to guys like Jonathan Brooks and game planning, they just haven't had those numbers.
Yeah, this is just this game overall, both sides, Washington and Texas.
Yeah, it's both sides is
just loaded at the skill positions. That's why the total is what it is. That's why this game is going to be a lot of fun. It's indoors. I'm glad this game is in the dome because it's got a chance to be just an all-time classic.
Yeah, there's legitimately 6 wide receivers that could be on NFL rosters, like getting actual like not just sitting there on the roster. Hey, I'm on the roster, NFL roster. Hey, mom, right? Like actually getting targets in the season. You could have potentially up to 6 guys in the next 2 to 3 years that are getting they're Odunze, McMillan, Polk. Those are all older guys that are all very talented. There's no breaks coming.
100%, man. Got a lot of people watching. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. If you could hit that thumbs up button, we really appreciate it. We enjoy doing the show. The more likes we get, we'll be able to do the show for longer. We plan on doing the show for a very long time, so appreciate everyone waking up and watching. Right now, we're going through our top most important players for Texas in the game against Washington. T'Vondre Sweat, Nash, it's time to talk about him. He has already had like an all-time season here at Texas, but this could go to a next level. If he dominates the next 2 games and makes some game-changing plays like he has been throughout the year, I'm not like a Texas football historian, I guess. You wouldn't say that just due to age. But, if he makes some awesome plays in these next 2 games, Nash, we are talking about one of the most memorable defensive seasons in the history of the program, right? You guys in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not saying the most, but it would have to be up there, man. He has been just the story from going to a 3-star and then taking over this year and just dominating games like a one-man run defense and taking this team to a national championship. Like, his opportunity here is pretty special, in my opinion.
Yeah, you go and you look at it as much as Texas fans won't want to say that they were saying this. There was a good number of people that were questioning Sweat's level of effort. I remember it was like I would get people saying, "Oh, T'Vondre Sweat doesn't have effort out there." I'm like, okay, all right, we're gonna have a little talk here. All right, I have not seen many defensive tackles that are 30 yards downfield making a tackle, but here I am talking about T'Vondre. Like, it's just like it's one of those things when you're watching it, you go, wait a second, let me pause the film and rewind. Did I just watch a 360-pound man tackle a 180-pound wide receiver 30 yards downfield? Yes, I did. Okay, crap. Is there going to be plays where the guy is gassed and it looks like he's having poor effort? Yeah, right. It's going to happen. Okay, this is football. playing 60 snaps a game, when you're 6'3", 363 pounds, you're probably going to get a little bit winded at times. But man, it's funny. I was sitting there as you were saying this, right? You're saying the special defensive like special season, and you don't even got to put it just a defensive tackle. I agree with what you're saying, because this is almost like not many people saw that. Like, this was almost out of left field for a lot of people, right? I'm trying to put this in. If you follow Texas baseball, this is the equivalent of Peyton Powell coming out last year and just hitting the ground running, right? Like, to where the coach is like, yeah, okay, we got to play this guy, right? Like, there's guess what? Peyton Powell's now a starter. But T'Vondre Sweat, man, you go and you look at it. I don't want to forget about Byron Murphy. The season that Byron Murphy's had, and we'll touch on him in a second when we get to mine. God, this is just like, you look at it, feels so like you could probably say all the same things that you just said about T'Vondre Sweat, about Byron Murphy. Now, a lot of people had the expectations for Byron Murphy, so I'm not saying that it was like almost unexpected, but I don't know how many people were even me. I don't think there was a single person outside of Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat and the coaches around them that thought that this season was coming. And even then, I think that you could, if you think that if you were to really give some truth serum out, those numbers start to dwindle a little bit. We have seen it's not often that you see the level of production out of defensive tackles that you have from T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy.
100%. And it's a fun matchup, man, because the Washington offensive line is legit, and they've been running the ball better the last couple of games. They want to attack you through the air. That's going to be their plan in this game too. But they've been running the ball better, and Sweat, he just has to do what he does, especially in the red zone. I've been harping on the red zone. I'm going to keep doing it. Just don't let them run up the gut in the red zone. If T'Vondre Sweat can do that, he's going to do more than that. But if he can just be the clogger and just eat up all the blocks and just wrap guys up, do not let them establish the run. Do not let them, run the ball in the red zone. Force them to make tough plays. Force them to throw the ball in the red zone where you can play tighter coverage without having to worry about getting beat deep. The best players, Nash, you have to have them make impact plays in this game, and I'm sure T'Vondre Sweat will, but if he can make a couple plays where he just gets them off the field on his own, where he just blows up a play or he draws a holding, because, that drawing a holding, that doesn't always show up in the stat book, but that's a 10-yard loss. That can completely ruin a drive. If he can do stuff like that, that's what Texas needs from him in this game. And, I'm sure he will make those plays, but, we're talking about the most important player, so it would be wrong to go too much longer without mentioning T'Vondre Sweat.
I mean, yeah, you got it. It would be a disservice to what we're doing right now to not mention the defensive MVP. I will say, man, like to what you're just saying right there. If he gets his mitts up and one pass hits it down,
that could be the place.
That could be we're throwing up complete hypotheticals, but you could have a situation where the defense back's falling down and Odunze's sitting there wide open and T'Vondre Sweat. What happens is Big Mitch gets on the ball and then that keeps washing. That's the level of impact that just one single, putting your mitts up can make. And as we've seen before, there's certain, like I've mentioned this multiple times, right? Like when you get fumble, when you get one fumble, probably a little luck. When you get two fumbles, okay, a little lucky. Three fumbles, right? Okay, if you're recovering three fumbles, there's something going on, right? There's a little bit more than luck you're paying attention for. T'Vondre Sweat, I'm playing the same thing. If you get one pass deflection, okay, a little luck. Two pass deflection, a little luck. His timing, his ability to jump and get the
there's
perfect
some skill to it.
You saw it versus Iowa State with the kick, and that's what tells me, man. Like as dudes that grew up playing baseball, right? There's just there's a different level of hand-eye coordination that comes with the ball moving and being able to time things up, right? Especially as a batter and all that stuff. It feels like this dude, like his coordination with his eyes and the ability to tell the timing of the ball moving, it's just like this. It feels unmatched from what we've seen.
Yeah, no, he's got a knack for it. He's got a knack for a lot of stuff. And that's, we mentioned it. It's just making that one play. That's what makes games like this also very exciting. It's just like when there's going to be points just back and forth, you never know when there's just going to be that one defensive play that just completely changes the game. And that's what's going to
Defense
happen in
won
this game.
championships.
Yeah, and just
That and
flip.
that's the reason right there, because you just never know when that one play is going to come up, and when like it's one of those things. It's you never know until you know.
100%, man. I don't want to go too much longer without mentioning specs. We've got a lot of people in the specs chat. Everyone's going, just a lot of interaction. We really appreciate it. That's what we were hoping for with today's show. We don't really have a time limit on today's show. We might just keep rocking here for a little bit, but
Look, hey, we've been rolling, man. I like I feel like I felt like we're only like at like 7 o'clock, and hey, here we are.
hey, man, we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. But if you're watching a bunch of bowl games, we're going to make our bowl picks here in a second. Stock up on specs. If you're going to a holiday party and you don't know what to bring, if you're showing up to a party, you've got to bring something. I'm told that's the right thing to do. You don't know what to bring. Just go to specs, go inside, and just walk around, and you will stumble upon things that you could bring to a holiday gathering. So they have good prices, high quality stuff. They'll deliver it. You can check out the app. But yeah, man, everyone hit up specs. We will hear from the commercial real quick, then we'll be right back.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
There you have it. Thank you, Nash. Who do you want to throw out here when we're talking about the most important players for Texas in this game?
Yeah, for sake of, I mean, we talked about Quinn Ewers earlier. I'll just briefly touch on that again. Only games with 10 first downs that you've seen from Quinn Ewers are Wyoming and Houston. I just, again, we said it earlier. I think that if you missed it, this is one of those things where Quinn Ewers, in big moments, he has big games. And if there was ever a case where you say, okay, this guy plays a guy plays up and down the level of competition, maybe you could point that out about Quinn Ewers. But I think it's even more so. It's just been he's had steady success, and then he's had the two hiccups versus Wyoming and Houston. But outside of that, I'll move on to Anthony Hill. Man, it feels like his ability to rush the pass, and then that Washington has been using Dylan Johnson a lot more, right? Like this is you naturally you'd think, right? I put out the those Washington versus Texas matchup numbers, and Washington's offense, their passing offense is 57.05 pass. No, that's the wrong number. They're 57.94 pass play percentage. So and that's 10th in the nation. They run a lot of pass plays. Well, in the last 4 weeks, it's been 127 pass plays to 124 rush plays. Almost a dead 50-50 split. Very similar to what Texas has been. And look, hey, I've said it multiple times leading up to this Washington game. If Washington wants to run the ball, I implore y'all to, right? Please do so. But it just feels like with that added, with the rushes that's been happening recently, you mentioned Andre Sweat. We'll talk about Byron Murphy here in a second. Those guys' ability to eat up sacks and just leave dudes wide open for Anthony Hill and Jalen Ford. Man, this feels like a big game moment for a young freshman who has really, I mean, if you and yeah, Fruck, you did miss the Specs commercial just by a little bit. You might just a little bit, man. You can hit that left arrow on your keyboard and you can still get there and within a couple clicks. But yeah, it just Anthony Hill, man. This is a guy. For those that have listened to that Third and Longhorn, I love that podcast now. But he feels different, dude. Right? Like when you have the Derek Johnson sitting right next to you, and he feels okay. Yeah, I'm able to sit here and I'm able to talk this guy up. I'm able to build this guy up and not have any worry that that's going to go to his head and anything like that, right? Because the level of faith that you have to have in the person, right? That's got to. He feels like a different guy.
Well, and I mean, he's a freshman, right? So Once the
Yeah, it's not
season
expected.
starts for these freshmen, it's a lot. They've never been through a college football season. It happens fast. You get in the routine of playing on Saturday, and then, you've got routines in high school, but just like the level of meetings and the level of detail that goes into this stuff, and then the type of practices that you have to go through, it's a lot for these freshmen to handle. It takes a while to get a grip. That's why you see these freshmen, they get better as the year goes on. That's why the bye week is always a big deal for this freshman. And a guy like Anthony Hill, you've got a month off before the bowl game. And, Sark says, he was talking about Arch Manning. He says, you're a sophomore now. I don't know if I've always like agreed with that whole deal that like you have a lot of time off and the guy's like basically a sophomore now. But Anthony Hill, man, they're going to say, hey, you're a sophomore now. Like you've had a month break before this game, a lot of practices to grow. Like he's going to be very comfortable going into this game. It's a big stage for everyone. But yeah, I like that call there with Anthony Hill. On the same line, quickly, I wanted to mention Barron Sorrell. I just feel like he has been an unsung hero of this season because he hasn't had the crazy sack numbers, but every time I go back and rewatch a game, there's Barron Sorrell just keeping contained. He did a really good job of keeping contained against Jalen Milroe. There's Barron Sorrell just like tracking down a running back that gets to the second level and making what could have been a 20-yard gain. He tracks him down and makes it an 8-yard gain. He was consistently been making those hustle plays. And you get this Washington offense, they're going to spread you out. They're going to put a lot of emphasis on Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. Nash, there's going to be multiple times throughout this game where Washington has a 3rd and 6, a 3rd and 8, a 3rd and 9, and Barron Sorrell's, and they're going to have to drop back and pass. And Barron Sorrell and Ethan Burke, you can throw him in there too, is going to be one-on-one, 100%. It's going to be against a really good offensive line. We had a question earlier saying, are you concerned about getting pressure against the Washington offensive line? Absolutely. These guys are very good. They know how to manipulate the passing game, especially with Jalen McMillan back, that safety valve. It's going to be hard to get to Michael Penix, but just 1 3rd and 8, if Barron Sorrell can just win quickly and make a big play. Those are the types of guys that make plays in these games. He hasn't had the crazy sack season, but he's been so solid all year, and he's such a hard worker, and he's good at his craft. This is the type of guy where I envision just like a 3rd and 8, midway through the 4th quarter. Texas is up by 3. They just need to get a stop, score a touchdown, get up by 10. And there's Barron Sorrell. Just wins on 3rd and 8, gets the sack. Everyone goes crazy. Everyone's happy for him on the sideline. So I wanted to give the edge guys a shout out here because they haven't had the crazy numbers, and they might not in this game. It might just be play your role, do what you're supposed to do. But it's just one play, Nash. That's all it's going to like. This defensive side of the ball, just get off the field one time, get off the field 2 times, and that could be it, just with how high-powered these offenses are.
Yeah, I mean, the Washington offensive line, this is a good pass-blocking offensive line. Like, if I'm going off the PFF stats right here, the tackles, 87.8 pass block on the left side, and that's Troy Fountain, or
That's all right.
He's a noose, okay? And we'll say that. Man, 87.8, 85.3. The one thing that gives me hope is of their 5 linemen, their 2 weakest spots are the guards. Now, they have a good center. He's got some good pass blocking grades. And this is not a situation where they've let up a lot of pressures. But the guards, when you talk about 27, 37, 47, 45 out of 45 total pressures, 27 of the pressures have come from the guards. This is a deal, man, where, you know what? If I think Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat can give this offensive line something that they have never seen this year. Like, I was going on my I was on my stream yesterday, and I was showing how, hey, look, Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, these are the best. Like, this is tackles 1 and 2. If you were to put them in the defense tackles number 1 and 2, if you were to insert them into the Pac-12. So they haven't faced anything like this all year long. And actually, if you actually want to think about it, the only time that they faced something like this was when they faced Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat last year. But that was a different Tavondre Sweat and a different Byron Murphy. You add another year of conditioning, right? You add in, like, I know a lot of people they had issues with. I'm willing to bet Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy are on the leadership committee. At least one of them is. I'm willing to bet. I know a lot of people had some certain feelings about Steve Sarkisian coming out and saying, you know what, early enrollees, sorry, you're not going to get to practice, right? Leadership committee, they kind of came up to me and they told me, hey, we don't like that. It's just that there's a different level of motivation when a national championship is on the line. And like to go with what I was saying right there, I really don't think Tavondre Sweat or Byron Murphy care one. Like when it comes, like if you were to really give them truth serum, that CIA truth serum, it feels like if you were to pull the truth out of them, it's like, hey, I don't care about 2024 at all, right? Like 2020, it's 2023 or bust, right? 2024 could have a 0-12 season as long as we win the national championship in 2023. See if I care.
I mean, you're 2 games away. That should be the only focus right now. But it's 100% fair to say that Washington has not seen anything like Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy because there's not another duo out there that's playing the level that those 2 guys have been playing at all year. It's like I keep going back to it. Before the season, we were getting these reports from the Texas scrimmages, and it was like, man, the interior offensive line might be an issue. Like these guys don't look good. They're losing consistently in practice. And then we get into the season, it's like, okay, well, that makes sense now because they were going up against this version of Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. You could say the same about this Washington interior offensive line. You said that, the offensive line as a whole for Washington's having a good year this year, but have they gone up against Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy? They have not. So we'll see, man. A couple guys, you've got Michael Taft listed. I've got Jaron Thompson. We can talk about the safeties together. I think for the safeties, we don't have Derek Williams in the first half. Oh, and I did want to say, everyone, there were some questions about Xavier Worthy in the chat. Everyone sounds good to go. Sark said everyone was flying around at practice, and Worthy, he's going to be healthy for this game.
And Worthy's a guy, real quick. Worthy's a guy that he plays hurt all the time. I've mentioned it a million times. I'm not going to pound that drum again, but he's a guy that immediately after the game, Steve Sarkisian was asked about Worthy and his health, and he said, like it really, from Steve Sarkisian's answer, I'm not sure if he directly said it, but it felt like he was saying, look, if it was a close game, Worthy was getting back in this thing. The X-rays came back negative. Yeah, so I'm not worried about Worthy at all.
No, it sounds like he's going to be good to go. But talking about the safeties, no Derek Williams in the first half. Jaron Thompson, Michael Taft, other guys could rotate in. Keaton Crawford rotate in as well. But Nash, I just think they need to survive, man. Just don't have the bust in coverage. This Washington pass offense is so explosive, and they want to score long touchdowns. They want to have quick drives, and that's what Jaron Thompson and Michael Taft have to prevent. It's you might not sell out and get the game-changing interception in this game. You might not be able to be super aggressive and fly up and make an awesome tackle in the run game because then it could be play action. You've got Jalen Polk running down the field. I think the emphasis just has to be just be smart. Just make sure everyone is on the same page from a communication standpoint because, Nash, if there's a coverage bust against these guys, it's 6. It's 6 every time. That's what the Washington offense lives on. Just no coverage bust. Just be solid. Romo Dunze especially is really good with the ball in his hands after the catch. Take good angles. It's hard to prepare for a guy like that, but just that's what you want out of the safeties in this game. Just be fundamentally sound. You're not going to make every play. This Washington offense is going to win a lot of plays, but just be fundamentally sound to where they have to drive down the field. I know everyone's talking about, I don't want to see this Texas defense get nickel and dime down the field. Well, you know what would be worse? Giving up a 60-yard touchdown and not giving the red zone defense a chance. Be smart, be methodical, don't get burned, and then give yourself a chance in the red zone to force them to kick field goals. That's where I'm at with the safeties. That's why I think Jaron Thompson and Michael Taft absolutely deserve to be discussed when we're talking about the most important players in this game.
I mean, yeah, when you specifically mentioned Jaron Thompson and Michael Taft, there's a little bit of layers of onion that you can pull back to, because it goes further than just, okay, they're not just defensive backs, they're not just safeties, right? But what do they specifically play? Derek Williams, he's had 246 free safety snaps this year. And it's been kind of clear he's been our starting free safety towards the end of the year. Not goes down, but we're missing him for the first half of the game. Who's the next highest guys in free safety snaps? So Ironically, they're not the next highest. They're a little bit higher than Derek Williams is, but I think we can all go to say they're not the same level of talent that Derek Williams is. Like the upside's not the same, but Michael Taft, 281 free safety snaps, and Jaron Thompson, 331 free safety snaps. I mean, it's just painfully obvious. Look, there's your two guys that are, if Texas is able to survive Derek Williams being out, and it relies on the defense, it relies on who's played and replaced him, those are your two guys.
100%. No, I agree. Anybody else you want to throw out in this discussion quickly before we pick some bowl games here?
Yeah, I just want to do this one for Travis. I know this is Travis's favorite defensive back on the roster. Terrence Brooks, man, I'm going to need another big game from him. Last year, held Roma Dunze to one catch on 4 targets, 13 yards. And then actually, if I look at it a little bit further, I want to see if there's any other versus any other wide receivers. No, he's pretty much just, last year it was pretty much, hey, we're putting you up against Roma Dunze and go in, baby.
100%.
And he did.
Yeah.
So, hey, you know what? Maybe it happens again. Terrence Brooks, and this is where a lot of the first round, like people talk about Terrence Brooks, he's a potential first round defensive back. I believe so, but like it's more about having the consistency now.
I mean, all these defensive backs, this is the opportunity, man. When NFL, and I know not all these guys are like big time NFL prospects, but just in general for the defensive backs that are potential NFL guys, when the scouts throw on the film, they're not going to want to see what you did against Houston and against Rice and against Wyoming. They're going to flip to the Washington game, man. I mean, they're going to want to see, what did you do against Roma Dunze? How did you hold up against Jalen McMillan? So this is a big opportunity for those guys. Jay the Activist, it was previously talked about in one of our war rooms, I believe, that they might do some mixing and mashing. So Watts maybe could get some looks, but yeah, I mean, there's going to be some moving pieces for sure in this game.
I mean, I've mentioned it in previous episodes that we've had talking about this stuff. Ryan Watts, look, like I remember one of the first episodes that we had on the Washington thing was I wondered about, will Ryan Watts get like a little bit of that safety look to help mitigate the Derek Williams missing, and I don't think so. But at the same time, I mean, there's just something to be said, because it's the one thing that you constantly hear about Ryan Watts is that his NFL futures at the safety position. We've had how many days in a row of like just what? This is almost a full month off of practice. Like, I know they only have a certain amount of practices, right? But I think we can go ahead and, like, when you have these teams, right, they practice more than they're like, it's not just a mandatory, like you have your mandatory practices. Like these teams feel like the ones that this team feels like one of those ones that, you know what, the leaders are kind of like, hey, you kind of got to show up to practice, right? Coach may not say you got to show up to practice, right? This is a voluntary mandatory practice that we're dictating. Ryan Watts last year versus Washington, he was used a little bit as safety. He was deployed as safety a little bit. So I wonder if they're going to flirt with that a little bit. I mean, if there ever was, it's the time that you have however many practices and you can get him mentally ready to play those snaps.
100%. Nash, it's time to pick some bowl games. It's weird picking these horrible bowl games without Travis here, because he's the one that really loves these horrible bowl games. We actually, courtesy of you, Nash, we have a live look at Travis's reaction for him not being able to pick these bowl games. He's just locked in a cage. We need to let Crazy Travis out of the cage to be able to pick the Boca Raton Bowl, be able to pick the Gasparilla Bowl, but he's not here. We move on. We do have his picks, so we will share those. Nash, you and I are in a close race. I believe you have a 1-game lead because Frank Harris, UTSA quarterback, just didn't play at the last second. The line moved dramatically. You covered. We didn't. I believe I will have the full updates after we pick these games. Nash, we're starting with the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl. Roofclaim.com. I just don't even want to start to think about what that could possibly mean. Obviously, there's a roof involved. I don't know if it's like a real estate or just like claiming a roof. I don't know. This is just ridiculous. This is up there with the most ridiculous sponsors I've had. We've got USF for Syracuse. Syracuse is laying 3. I'm gonna lay the 3 with Syracuse. What the hell is the roofclaim.com? That's one of the most ridiculous sponsors I've ever heard.
This screams of big time Florida energy. Okay. This screams of all we get is hurricanes all year long. So a roof claim company has the money necessary to go
Okay, that
out
makes
there
sense.
and sponsor an actual like giant ass bowl. Like, let's be honest, right? Is it a giant bowl game? No. Does it probably cost an ass load of money? Like, whip out the Brinks dump truck and to get the spawn. Yeah, the TV companies. This is vital, precious TV time, right? So they're going to charge them. We're going to charge them dollars to see a roof company up here. Yeah. Hey, whoever started what is this roofclaim.com? Hey, you've done something, man. You've done something for yourself and for your family. You've
100%.
taken the roofs and you've put them in college football.
Who you
Congratulations.
got?
I'm going to take Syracuse. Just not too much other. I'm just
that's all it
I'm
needs to be
literally
said.
just doing quick glances and it's whoever looks like they got. If you got a good defense and a good offense, I'm picking you all day long.
Travis is taking USF +3. All right. Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Whew. We've got Georgia Tech here against UCF. UCF is laying 4.5. Nash, I've got a rule, and I also have a question. My rule is always bet against Georgia Tech in the bowl games, because if you give teams a lot of time to prepare for the triple option, then you're at a bad spot. But my question is, does Georgia Tech still run the triple option? Because I don't watch Georgia Tech. I just know that was the thing that happened back in the day. Do you or anyone in the chat, do they even still run that?
No,
They don't?
they got rid of that coach.
Okay.
They're a little bit more of a modern offense, and they've played Georgia pretty well in the past 2 years. So probably should be going Georgia Tech, but I'm going UCF.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going UCF too, just in the spirit of the fade, the triple option logic. Even if it doesn't apply to this game, just the aura of the program, I'm going to go with that. Who does
And I'm
Travis
gonna
have?
I'm gonna go ahead and Kane. Thank you. Clearly, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking, there's not going to be a Haynes King, so that's why I'm choosing UCF. And
Yep.
thank you for reading my mind, Kane. I was definitely thinking that 100%.
Travis is also rolling with UCF. All right, we got the Birmingham Bowl. Troy -7.5 versus Duke. You don't even get a clever sponsor for the Birmingham Bowl. It's just the damn Birmingham Bowl. There's no way Duke wants to be here. Their quarterback's in the portal. He went to Notre Dame.
The coach is gone.
The team lost some games late in the year. Troy's laying 7.5. I'm rolling with Troy, man. What they're missing like family Christmas events to play in the Birmingham Bowl against Troy when you're at Duke. That's tough, man. That's a tough break. I just don't think those guys want to be there. I'm going with Troy.
Yeah, I'm trying to. There's a Chris Lewis, wide receiver out of Troy, who has amazing mitts. I'm not sure if he entered the transfer portal. He already transferred from Kentucky one time, so you'd have to be a graduate transfer to get immediate playing ability. This is a guy that I really want Texas to get. He's like 6'3". Like, I'm telling you, if you go look at his name, like just type in Twitter Chris Lewis Troy, and you'll see some insane grabs. That's about all I know about Troy and Duke this year. So I'm gonna pick Troy to win just because I've seen one wide receiver have some good games.
There you go. Travis has Troy as well. Everyone's rolling with Troy. All right, the Camellia Bowl, Arkansas State -3 against Northern Illinois. If you're watching this game, you're a true sicko, and I respect it. I'm rolling with Arkansas State, Illinois. Northern Illinois, famously very bad in bowl games. Obviously being sarcastic there with the famously, but they're not good in bowl games. I'm going to roll with Arkansas State -3. Nash, who you got?
Yeah, I was wondering if you actually had some actual statistics on Northern Illinois in the bowl games. I was going to be surprised, and I was actually going to be a little bit of pride.
I got it. They have lost 7 consecutive bowl games in 10 of their last 12.
So I'm going to be taking Arkansas State here.
No, you can't flip your pick. That's horrible.
I mean,
I'm
I think
disincentivized to give out good stats if you're just going to flip to my pick.
Look, hey, this is the time of a Christmas giving. You should be.
All right.
Okay,
So we're both
I'll
leaving
go.
Arkansas
I'll go with
State.
Northern Illinois.
Travis does not get to hear the fun facts. We're leaving him stuck with Northern Illinois.
Well,
All right.
I feel like he would have stuck with it too.
He would have stuck with it. He's very stubborn. All right. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl. We've got Georgia State taking on Utah State. Utah State minus 2.5. I'm just picturing you're just sitting around. It's right before Christmas time. Your partner, your wife is wrapping gifts. Your husband's wrapping gifts. Sorry, babe, I can't help right now. I'm laying 2.5 with Utah State in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. I'm just gonna need 45 more minutes. That's it. I'm going with Utah State.
Yeah, if you are in a situation where you're pulling that, good luck. Good luck. I have a feeling that couch that you're watching the Utah State and Georgia State game on, you're probably gonna have a nice relationship with that couch for the rest of the night. So go ahead and get cozy, get all the blankets up. Yeah. I'm gonna be taking Utah State, and for the sake of it, look, if I were you, I'd have been imploring me to take that Arkansas State. I'm changing it to Northern Illinois. I believe I'm behind you one game in the ranking. I need to separate some picks here. So, yeah, we're going to be taking Northern Illinois to reverse.
What about the Potato Bowl? Who you got?
Oh, Utah State.
Utah State. Okay, Travis is taking Georgia State plus the 2.5 there. The Armed Forces Bowl. James Madison minus 2.5 against Air Force. Air Force, famously part of the Armed Forces. James Madison, famously not part of the Armed Forces.
Not at all.
Feels like there's an advantage here for the Air Force. But James Madison, they were that weird frisky team that was like ranked 25th for some reason all year. They were kind of like in the news. When those teams are just like randomly in the news like that, I like to pick them in the bowl game just because they get really confident and they get all fired up for the bowl game. Fading Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl, it feels gross, but I'm doing it. So give me James Madison minus 2.5.
Yeah, I'm going with America's team. Okay, and that is not Michigan. For those that don't know, I know the Michigan players are trying to run around saying we're America's team. No, you're not. America wants you to lose. Like, I've literally not met a single person that's a fan of Michigan right now outside the Michigan players. But that being said, I am going to be taking Air Force. And you know what? They were a little bit of that team coming. Like, they didn't make it as far as James Madison did without losing a game. But man, there was a moment there where I think they were like 8-0, and it was like
playoffs.
They might actually make a New Year's Six. Damn. Like, this is I don't know, for those that remember, Texas played Army in the regionals a few years back, and I remember it was like, if there ever was a team, 2010 specific year, I was like, man, if there ever was a team that was going to make it to Omaha, it's this Army team. But yeah, so I'm gonna take Air Force to beat James Madison.
All right, Travis is rolling with James Madison. Always feels bad to have Travis on my side. So there we go. All right, SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, Utah minus 6.5 versus Northwestern. Nash, I'm not the most cultured guy. The Mormon thing, like Utah, the Mormons, they don't do anything crazy. Is that just like a BYU thing, or is that the state of Utah? How does that work? Do you know?
So I think like the restrictions, like you got to go to church. You got, like, there's certain restrictions you have to have.
Yeah, I know that, but is it like BYU specific, or is it just Utah?
The state of Utah is just that Mormon state, I believe.
Okay,
like,
cool.
It's just like, so, things are just different out there.
The larger point is putting Utah with these Mormons that can't do a lot of fun things. It seems like putting them in the Las Vegas Bowl. That's a crime, man. I mean, the Las Vegas Bowl should be reserved for the parents and the kids that can go out and really embrace what the Las Vegas Bowl and take part in all the activities off the field. And it just doesn't feel like Utah's going to do that. This is like sending Johnny Manziel into a nightclub with $20. He's just not going to. You got to let the man cook. You got to let the tiger out of the cage, let the peacock fly. This is a bad job by the NCAA. You got to send some more fun schools to the Las Vegas Bowl. This is just poor planning.
Yeah, I understand.
Because of the lack of distractions, I'm taking Utah minus 6.5 here.
Yeah, I understand that. Like, you want the regional aspect, and then also Northwestern. Like, this is one of the problems. Like you have bowl games are set. Okay, well we're gonna have the Big 12 play this team. The Big 12 is gonna play the SEC. The Big 12 is gonna play the Pac 12 in this bowl game, and there's set bowl games for set team for set. Who gives a shit? What?
Yeah,
We've made it all this time, right? We're at the end of the year. Give us our Christmas presents, right? Give us the good matchups that we want to see. No one's tuning in. No one wants to see Utah play Northwestern, right? Like I'd much rather see Utah play UCF. I don't know. Like it feels like is Utah one of the schools coming in the Big 12? Yeah, they're like it's just there's yet another blunder from the NCAA. I'm going to take Utah here. It just
it's a blunder. It's a blunder for sure.
Yeah, I'm
Travis
is also no. Thanks a lot NCAA. Thanks for nothing.
Travis is also rolling with Utah. Sandman, don't let Travis ever say that I don't know a good reference. Sandman got me with the other guys. My all-time favorite movie. I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly. Peacocks don't fly. Not the point. Not the point, man. Great stuff there. All right, last one. The Hawaii Bowl. Coastal Carolina, San Jose State. San Jose State laying 10.5. Tough thing about the Hawaii Bowl this year, they're actually playing it in Hoboken, New Jersey because of field renovations. No, I'm kidding. That would suck. It's like the Bahamas Bowl, though, right? Where the Bahamas Bowl wasn't. Imagine the Hawaii Bowl. Let's go. You're going to Hoboken, New Jersey in December.
I'd call the. Well, if I'm Coastal Carolina, I'd call up San Jose State. I'd call up the coach. I'd be like, look, we're gonna fly out there, right? I got a high school field.
Yeah, we're going to Hawaii.
We're going, right?
Gonna be there.
They can shove it, right? This is our one time. I'm going on. I'm going and I'm getting my I'm getting my vacation on, right? Because let's be honest, right? What's their season totals at? Coastal Carolina and San Jose State. San Jose State, they're 7-5. Coastal Carolina 7-5. Okay. Do you think that they're like really like are these teams really going out there and saying we're gonna win this ball game? Yeah, no. Let's go have fun, right? Let's go have fun.
Got a tan. That's the reason. This is why I'm taking Coastal Carolina plus the 10.5. I'm not gonna lay 10.5 points in this game. I don't know who wants to be there. I don't know who's been like out there swimming with dolphins and petting stingrays. Like I'm taking the points here with Coastal Carolina.
See, I'm going to go with San Jose State because of the reasons that you just listed. If there's some dudes that are used to going to the beach and used to having this stuff, it's your San Jose State team. But look, if I'm Coastal Carolina, right? Conditioning is hitting the waves, right? Going out there and swimming, right? Just like I understand you're supposed to be focused on football, but how many times are you going to be out there and like actually being in Hawaii? I just feel like I'm going to go. I know Coastal Carolina Eastern School, but it's a different vibe out west, and I think San Jose State's going to have a little bit more like it's going to be the Hawaii Bowl is going to be fun for San Jose State, but it's not going to mean the same thing that it's going to mean for Coastal Carolina because the climate's going to be pretty close to what they have at San Jose State in California. So I'm going to take San Jose State, but I will be that will be hilarious if Coastal Carolina just goes out there and they're completely sluggish and it just like they just look bad. If that happens, you'll know. Okay, you know what? They had fun.
There you go. No, I like the logic there. Bad news. Travis is also on your side with San Jose State.
Yeah, not good news for Travis.
I know that we've been playing that clip on the channel. It's no longer in the mix, but we've got another clip loaded up that I will leave the people with here in a sec. You guys that made it this far, we really appreciate it. It'd be great if you hit the like button on the way out. We have a lot of fun doing the show. The like button helps us to continue to do the show. If you want to leave a comment, that would be great too. That helps us out. When the show ends, hit refresh, leave a comment. You can say whatever you want. It'll be cool. Really appreciate you guys. Nash, any final thoughts? We've got NFL games this weekend. We've got some big fantasy football matchups, I'm sure. Probably should get out of here pretty soon, but any final thoughts you want to leave the people with?
Final thoughts. Yes, flips, Ryan. It is the cats and dogs. You don't need some cats, you need some dogs. But that being said, if you will hit the like button so we can let Travis out of the cage. Travis is currently locked away. We said we'd let him out if we get to 100 likes. So if you like Travis, hit the like button. Obviously, I'm just joking. If you want to hit the like button. If you don't, that is your prerogative as well. Aaron, this is our last. This is our last show before Christmas, right?
Yes. No show Friday. This goes for all of Orange Bloods Live. We're off Friday. We're off Monday. We'll be back Tuesday, and then talk about it. We got a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday sprint, and then we are going to be talking. I mean, we're going to be a lot of Sugar Bowl next week, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, look, it's going to get real, right? We got there's 4 shows left until the big game, the big one. We'll see if I appear with this back on, but this might be the last time. So if you like the Santa Claus hat, hey, get your last good looks in at it.
Yep. One final thing. Blake has this loaded into the feed. I would feel like I'm doing our morning Get Your Horns Up listeners a disservice if I did not play this clip on our show. If you missed it, Chargers social media. Cameron Dicker, the former Texas kicker, now kicks for the Los Angeles Chargers. He's actually having an amazing season. But yeah, they're trying to get him to the Pro Bowl. Here's what the Chargers put out yesterday on the Cameron Dicker Pro Bowl campaign.
Love it.
Been victimized by a missed field goal. No good! Wide to the right! No good! Ah! My name is Cameron Dicker, and I'll kick for you. 50, 40, 30, doesn't matter. I'll make it. Bang! 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 Rain, sleet, or snow, this leg is ready to go. Don't believe me? Ask him.
Cameron Dicker is a really good kicker. He's outstanding, and I love him.
And I did not edit that. So don't be and let me kick for you at the Pro Bowl. Ah! So go to chargers.com/vote to send me and my leg to kick for you. Vote for me! Vote for me! Pro Bowl 2023, baby, let's go!
Breen, putting in the Mike Breen bang with the field goals. It's perfect. Everyone go vote for Cameron Dicker. Have a really good Christmas with your families. Thank you guys so much all throughout the football season. We were lucky for you guys. Check out ESM. Go back, scan the QR code, check them out. But most of all, everyone just have a good weekend and enjoy the holidays with the family.